Right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Digital Automation with CRM and Power Automate. So today we're going to talk about mostly about Power Automate, but also about how you can incorporate that within CRM and how you can use it to increase uptake from your users by automating some of the simpler tasks that you can do for them automatically without them having to repeat information and things like that. So before we dive into that, my name's Kelly. I'm a technical consultant here at TechMan for Dynamics CRM. So using automation, Power Automate and workflows is a large part of my role here. So a few things first. Can everybody hear me and see the presentation fine? If you do have any issues, please let our colleagues know and we'll rectify those for you. We're going to be here for approximately 30 minutes. We will have probably about 15-20 minutes of presentation and then 10 minutes Q&A at the end. And if you do have any questions, please save them for the end and we will go through them all at the end in one go. So let's move on then. So as an introduction, we're going to talk about Power Automate and how it links CRM together with many other systems that you can use to automate the transfer of information so people don't have to update information in more than one place. So first things first, what is Power Automate? So Power Automate is a really, really powerful workflow engine. So for those of you that aren't familiar with CRM or the technical aspects of it, what is a workflow? So a workflow is basically a tool that we put together using criteria and logic so that when a certain condition is met, information is updated in a certain way. So you qualify a lead into an opportunity and then we use workflows to update information on that opportunity as to how hot the lead is, what your chances of closing the opportunity are, things like that. So the idea of a workflow is to use AI and artificial intelligence to basically stop people having to go in and manually update records. So the need for data entry is minimized. So Power Automate has been around for probably close to 6 years or so, but it was previously known as Flow. And then in October 2019, in the rollout of the Wave 2 2019 updates, it was renamed Power Automate. So do we call it Power Automate or do we call it Flow? So the way to think of it is this: Power Automate is the collection of tools available, and Flow is the individual workflows you create to do that automation for you. So when people talk about Power Automate, they're talking about the engine as a whole, all of the connectors, all of the capabilities, everything that's encompassed within it. And when they talk about a flow, they're talking about the individual pieces of automation that are put together. So as we've discussed, the desire behind using Power Automate is to eliminate repetition. It's to perform some of the more menial tasks that can take up quite a lot of people's day, but could easily be automated. So when we go through the demo, we'll show you a demo of how we've automated a credit check request for a new account. But we'll go through that in more detail as we go through the demo. But so that's the basics of what Power Automate is for. So what other services can it connect to? So Power Automate isn't just for CRM and Microsoft services. It can connect to hundreds of other connectors as well. So there are connectors for things like Twitter, Facebook. You can connect to Adobe PDF services to create DigiSign documents. We will go through some of the connectors that are available out there as well. So we'll show you the connection page so we can go through what you can and can't do within Power Automate itself. Power Automate has a variety of free connectors and it has a variety of premium connectors. So the premium connectors are connections that you need licenses to other services to use. So the Adobe DocuSign service, for example, you need an Adobe DocuSign subscription to be able to use that service. Whereas, like the Twitter connections are free because Twitter is a free service that you don't need a subscription to. So the connectors that are available aren't actually created by Microsoft themselves. They're created by the developers of these end services and then registered on the Microsoft platform using what are called APIs. So the introduction of APIs and them becoming a common function within web services has meant that we're no longer restricted to connecting to things that are just sat on the same server box. We can now connect to systems that are sat anywhere in the cloud. Certain on-premise services still allow API creation, so we can connect to certain on-premise services still. But we can use the APIs to connect to any of the connectors that are registered within the Flow service. But you can also create your own custom APIs if you would need development skill to do that within your organization. But if you have custom applications within your organization and you have that development resource available, you can actually create your own custom APIs to use Flow to link it into other services such as CRM and, as we'll show in the demonstration, things like SharePoint and Outlook. So there are certain templates that are available within Flow. So you can have a go yourself. It's not all restricted to Microsoft services and consultancy services such as ours. So there are certain templates there that you can use to just see what Flow can do. So there are templates, for example, where when you receive an email, you can get it to automatically save attachments to your OneDrive if it comes with a certain subject or a certain file type attached. But the advice we would give you, if you do want to have a go at running some of these Flow templates yourself, is just to be aware of what we call scope. So when you set up a Flow in the first instance, there is an option in there for scope. Just make sure you set that to user. Otherwise, people within your organisation may get spammed a lot by flows that you've created. So organisation scope tends to be used by professional services like ourselves when we're creating automation that needs to run across the entire organisation, regardless of who's triggering that automation happening. So those of you that are already familiar with CRM, you're probably aware of what we now call legacy workflows. So workflows aren't a new concept to CRM users. They're one of our greatest tools. We love them. Within the CRM consultancy industry, they do a lot of fantastic things for us. So, we use them to send out automatic case notification emails. We use them to send out approval requests for things. We use them to update account details based on updates that are made in other entities. So, that there are a lot of different things that we used to use legacy workflows for. Here at TechMan, we've now adopted the policy of if we can create it in Flow, we will create it in Flow. There are still some circumstances where we need to use legacy workflows. So such as if you need real-time workflow updates. So if you need to automatically update on a case what the account is based on who the contact is, and you need that update to take place before you save the record. That's what we call a real-time workflow. So we'd still use the legacy workflow engine to do that, because at the moment Flow doesn't have the capability to do real-time updates. But for where it's possible, we'll now use Flow to create that automation in the background for your system. There were certain limitations to the legacy workflows. So the demo we're going to show you, integrating SharePoint and approval processes, the limitations of these used to be that the person that the approval was going to needed to have access to CRM to be able to go in and see that data. And if we wanted to link documents into SharePoint, that would require custom development for plugins using .NET plugins. So the development cost of that was higher for the rollout of those practices. So so best practices moving forward, our advice would be moving forward, if you can do it in Flow, do it in Flow. Now, Microsoft market flow as something that citizen developers can use, and by citizen developers they mean people that are super users within CRM and have an understanding of how CRM works, and so they can go and try to make these flows themselves. Now, this is fine, and we actively encourage people to do what they can in terms of updating their own CRM system and maintaining control of that themselves. But there are going to be times where the processes are just too complicated, and you will need to engage consultancy help. And if you do have any questions about updating your existing flows, updating your existing legacy workflows to the new style of flow using Power Automate, feel free to drop us a message and we can get in contact after this summit. Unfortunately, we're not going to have time to go into too much detail about how to go through the process of that today. But if you do want further information, please let us know, and we're quite happy to have that conversation separately with you. But for best practices moving forward, we recommend that, try it in Flow. If Flow can do it in Flow. If you do need to use a legacy workflow engine, though, that option is still there. As with all progress from Microsoft, we are expecting that eventually the legacy workflow engine will go away, but at the moment there's no indication in the roadmap as to when that will be, so there's no real urgency to do this process. But just as a best practice thing going forward, and in terms of opening up your organisation to the possibilities of what Power Automate brings, it's an idea to start that update process as soon as possible. So we're just going to skip into the demo now. So if we go into here, so this is a demo system that we've put together for this purpose. So the demo that we've put together today, we're going to create a new lead, and then we're going to qualify that lead into an opportunity. So when we qualify a lead into an opportunity, it automatically creates an account within CRM, it creates a contact within CRM, and it creates the opportunity record. So what we're going to do is when we create that opportunity, we're going to email the details from the lead about the account to the finance department and get them to run a credit check and let us know whether that's been approved or not. Now, we could go further with this process. We could get it to automate updating fields based on what the credit response was. We could get it to update automatically things like credit limits. We could link more complicated files into SharePoint so that those files link over. But for the purpose of the demonstration, we're going to create a file with all of the details of the lead in there, email that over to our finance department so that they don't need to access CRM to see those details, and then they can automatically click approve from their inbox looking at the files, so they don't need to go into CRM, look at loads of different detail, open loads of different tabs up. They can have all of the information there at hand. So to start with, we're just going to create a lead. So we're just going to fill in some basic information here. And not be able to spell. Okay. So once we've made contact with our customer and we know that we've engaged the customer and they want to move forward, we qualify the lead. And then because it's found existing information, because I exist in this system quite a few times, it's asking me if I want to match it to somebody, but we're just going to continue because we want to create a new record. So while that's whirring through in the background, what it's doing, it's actually running in the background. It's creating a file using HTML code, and it's going to create a PDF to send to our accounts department. So we could get it to create a Word document so that it could then be collaborated on using SharePoint, but Word documents require quite a lot of metadata to create them. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we've just done it using plain HTML, just to show the ease with which you can put it together. So we'll show you one we made earlier. So this is one of the approval flows that we put together earlier that we were using to test the system with. As you can see, this is the file that it generates. So it brings through the account name, the address details, some basic contact details of the person that's we've had contact with in the lead. So you can bring through more information through this if you want to. You can put as much information or as little information into it as you want, as long as that information exists within the lead. You can pull it through. So obviously for your particular business purposes, you may want more information to come through on that. So your accounts department go off, they do their credit check, and then they can click approve here from their inbox. They can put in a reason if they want to. So if they've rejected it for a specific reason, they could put that in there, or they can put any additional comments that they want in there. And then they just click submit. That goes off and it approves it all in the background. And then the person that's put through the credit request for the account then gets an email saying that it's been approved. So based off that approval, based on it being accepted or rejected, we can also automate further actions through the system for that. So we can automate, it automatically updating the account status. We can automate updating the opportunity status. We can put a field within the business process flow for the opportunity so that it can't go any further until that credit check's been completed. And then we can automate filling that field in so that it can be moved forward within the system. And then if we go and have a look. Just find the account I made earlier. I can't remember the name of. Clean hardware. So we can update any of these fields here. So for example, this relationship type, we could update to be customers. We can update the last contacted from the lead as well. We can pull in all of the information and fill in any information within this account form that you want to. So then in terms of show you as well the different flow connectors that are available. So if you just go to flow.microsoft.com, it will log you in, and then as you can see, so all of the different connectors, you can see all the different connectors that are here. There are hundreds and hundreds of them, so you're bound to find one that does something that you want it to do. So as we discussed, there's a Twitter one here. There are notifications, so you can get it to send push notifications to the Flow app on your phone when certain things happen. If you want to, with the approvals process, you can get them to get the approvals through on the phone, so they don't necessarily have to wait for someone to check their emails. They can get a notification on the mobile phone when one comes through. There are just hundreds and hundreds of different connectors that you can connect to. And as discussed, the templates that are available that you can use to just, have a little play with it yourself and see what you can do. These are all the different templates that are available here for you to have a go with. So that's the basics of using Flow with CRM and how to automate some simple processes. So as we said, you can use them to automate much more complex processes within the system as well. So we've put together, flows that instead of needing 7 or 8 different legacy workflows, we've managed to combine them all together into one flow. So the possibilities of using Flow with CRM data and linking it into other services and SharePoint, Outlook, Teams even, you can use it to link it to Power BI. The possibilities that it creates for you are just exponential in terms of connecting to other systems. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you can join us for the rest of the Sofa Summits this afternoon.